disintegrate. Years roll along and fade. Don't let them slip away. Right here, right now, today. These are the good old days. Right here, right now, today. Hey, these are the good old days.
Well, good evening or good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. And welcome to a special episode of Go Figure. This is out of our typical realm of videos that we do of restorations or the Mo Tuesday shows. And so it's a Friday night and it's summertime. And I thought, what did I like doing as a kid? And Friday night in summertime is inviting good buddies over to hang out and talk and play with toys. So I invited some of the best buddies that I know. So we have all the way from the United States of America, I believe in North Carolina, the Shabby Geek himself. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I appreciate you being here because this is your second stream today.
Yeah. We do our live stream on a Friday. But no, thanks for asking. I'm looking forward to this. This will be awesome.
It's just good. I just like hanging out with good dudes. And so you are one of the good dudes. And another one of the great dudes is a guy who I met online here doing YouTube stuff and then just jumped in a car beside me at Joe Fest. And we've been instant friends even before that is the Willem Toy and Hobby.
Hello. How you doing, guys? It's a pleasure to be
here.
here. I'm adjusting to this Canadian time that we're on, but, I think I'm doing well.
Canadian time is much like American time, just 10% more polite.
Yes.
That's all it is. And then it's evening here, but it's morning there. All the way from down under is my Mo Tuesday co-host. One of them is the great and powerful Xazyl from Oz.
Xazyl.
I'll take that. I want to give a quick shout out to Space Commander, who's feeling under the weather at the moment. He's had a bit of a bad run. He hurt his back doing laundry, which just goes to show that there's no excuse for a man to ever have to do laundry. All right, take it off the table. All right, we're no good at it anyway. All right, we can't fold, we can't do any of it. Let us off of that. Take us off the hook. It's dangerous for us. It's dangerous. I kid. But what I don't kid about is poor old Space Commander.
Right.
Yeah. So this one's for you, buddy.
My parents got married in 1979, and when they did that, my dad went for a physical, and the doctor said you have allergies to freshly cut grass, so you can't cut the grass. And I think he still has that doctor's note framed for all of my parents. The one who cuts the grass. He's like, the doctor said no, I can't do it. There's no way. So before we get into our big conversation today, let's just hop over to the chat real quick and see who's hanging out with us. So we have Kenny Whitty. He is here. The great stream is going to catch it. He's not here. He's going to catch it tomorrow.
Oh,
good morning.
Well, it is tomorrow for me.
It's tomorrow for you. How did we do? Was it a good show, Xazyl?
A brilliant show. I wish I hadn't said that part about the laundry, but we'll leave it in.
Oh, very good. And then, to no one's surprise, we've got Wilhelm is here. He's doing double duty.
hey,
And where
that's a
there's
cool guy
Wilhelm,
right there.
where there's a Wilhelm, there will be a Bjorn Bjorgensen.
Schmodulok, Mr.
Modula,
Bjorn.
Right? We got him here. Also, we got Largo's Lair joining us all the way from Guatemala.
Jumbo.
Say it. So how's it going down there? And then also we've got Gojitron. He's driving home from work. Just keep it between those lines, Goji. Don't get yourself in trouble. All right. And all the way, he's just down the road from Xazyl. You guys can look at the window and wave. Is our good buddy, the Retro Tinker.
Hey.
G'day, mate.
Did you ever send him his stuff yet?
Nope.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure you're to blame and not me.
Yeah, I've still got everyone's stuff.
And speaking of everyone's stuff, Classified is still waiting for her wind tour.
Well, keep waiting.
Game of Thrones Classified, winter is coming, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
Right, and then it wouldn't be a party without G-Force Racing.
G-Force.
He's here all the way, and then we're gonna keep on going down here. Oh, look at this! Look at this beauty.
Oh, Phil.
A nicer man on the planet Earth I have not found yet.
And a handsome man, too.
he intimidates me with his handsome. And then with Payne, speaking of handsome men, Payne is a proud new owner of the same 3D printer that I have. He went out
very cool.
And then so we had a little chat online of kind of how I do stuff. So I'm excited to see some cool stuff coming from him. So that'll be excellent. I think that's everybody except it wouldn't be a Friday night if we didn't have Nolan here.
Hey, Nolan, what's happening, buddy?
The man right there. And the most relaxed DeLorean is I don't know. Relaxing.
Relaxing. How are you?
G-Force Racing says he loves cutting grass. And look at this.
Hey,
look at this.
Keep on collecting. How you doing?
Keep on collecting here. And then this is a surprise. It makes me smile right in the heart. My main man, Phil Briggs is here.
Hey, Phil. Two Phils in the house.
Two Phils in the house. Phil Briggs drums with me at church. He's like one of the best guys in the planet. So that's good to have him here. First time. And now he was invited to be on the show. I can't
drum it. Yeah, that would do. And I would be missing the drums because I'm up here.
He was invited to the show with us tonight, but he couldn't make it because he's at PowerCon. But tuning in. Scuba Pete. Oh, that was great. So Scuba Pete, if you find a multi-bot down there, just send me a text. I might just shoot you some cash. Just let me know what the scoop is. Right? You might.
I hope you have a great time at the show, Scuba.
Yeah, I was talking. I was talking to Scuba Pete's wife in Shabby's chat when his So
he's just sent me a picture. He's in a bar at the moment, and he's got one of those boot glass beers that's about that big. And he's
in a boot.
Nice. In a boot.
Having the time of his life. He's having a good time.
Yeah, and also keep on collecting who's in the chat. Xazyl still has your stuff as well. There's all kinds of.
I've got everyone's stuff. Okay, all right. I've got it all. Come and get it. Come on over and grab it.
Yeah, party at Xazyl's house. It's going to be a real barn burner. Right now, there's something that just happened in the chat. I need to be aware of it here. And so Scooby says, "Multibot, I'm on it, pal." And so that's what spurned this whole conversation for tonight was Multibot, because I've been collecting toys all my life, and much like you guys, we have big collections.
Really,
I'm a Multibot away from being done collecting. I'm a Multibot away from being done with Motu, which is maybe one of the best, most fun lines I've had collecting. And so it's this bittersweet moment where we start a collection and we hope to collect them all, like the back of the package says. But then that happens, and then where do you go from there?
I hate that when that happens. I hate it.
You look, it's this thing. Oh, Gap After Dark is here as well, so you know it's going to be a good party. He's saying hello to everyone.
Beautiful. Good. Very inclusive.
Yeah, and so the reason I invited you guys on, well, is because, again, the one rule I have for my channel is you got to be an awesome dude, and you guys are all awesome dudes. But I would say the four of us collect very differently. We all collect stuff on the same collecting community, but I'd say we collect very, very differently. So myself, I'm a vintage-only collector. I only collect vintage stuff. That's the world that I live in, and that's where I kind of go. Still kind of dabbles, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is just my opinion. You kind of dabble in a few lines, but really you're O-ring Joes and O-ring compatible Joes that can help out your show. Is that kind of where I'm coming from? Plus you have your Sergeant Slaughter collection on the side, which is really.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, Xazyl.
Hi. Yeah. So what I do. Look, I don't know about you guys, but for me, Adam keeps breaking up a little, so I didn't hear who he was talking to. But now that it's me, I'm all in. I'm ready for this conversation. Okay. I collect two ways. The first way is that Adam sends me everybody's stuff, and then I just keep it. So I've got like a bunch of stuff. Like I didn't even know I was collecting this stuff, but now I've got like all of it. Like it's right there. I could reach over and grab it right now, but I don't want to have it on camera proven. At the moment, I could just be joking. You don't know. But the second way that I collect is I was so when you say that you when you get to the end of a line, it's bittersweet. Sometimes for me, and tell me if this is for you guys as well, depending on the line, right? Once the line's complete, I kind of lose interest in it. I'm like, okay, well now I've got it. That happened to me. I think the first instance that ever happened was when I finally got all the 25th anniversary G.I. Joe toys, right? When those ones came out, I was all in. I was picking them up. The excitement for the hunt, which is, and toys here in Australia are very hard to get anyway. Hey, Casey, another legend.
Absolutely.
And TJC's here too. I see TJC. Yeah, there he is. So when I got the 25th anniversary G.I. Joe, I pretty much had them all. This is not including doubles. I could get like 6 Dukes or whatever. Just main characters. And then when I had them all, and I had them all on display, they looked good. But then I was like, well, now what? And then I sort of lost interest in them. I was like, okay, well, I've got them. But what am I going to do with them now? And I ended up selling them and starting again. And this time I started, I went back and I started collecting the Transformers vinyl tech and the alternators. I had a couple of them already. And I thought, these are great. This would be my new thing to collect. So I took down that display and I started displaying Transformers instead. And then I completed all of those. And then I was like, now what? So I ended up giving those to the kids to play with, and they just destroyed them. Don't give your alternators and vinyl tech Transformers to your kids unless you never want to see them again. They were just broken within minutes. And I was like, okay. But then after that, I started getting into classic G.I. Joe O-ring stuff. Mm-hmm. But I was never going to complete all of it. I was just picking them up for this little wrestling thing that I was doing. It made a little comic book called the WWO, which was the World Wrestling O-Ring, right? It wasn't even disguising the fact that they had O-rings, right? This is like full on display. So I had a handful of those, which was one of the first times I ever got a Sergeant Slaughter action figure. Right, so the first time I got one, I was already an adult. I didn't have any as a kid. We've already been through the story. Very sad story. But I'd finally gotten one. I was like, this is a really great figure. I reckon I will pick up the... So the first one I got was a mail away. So the second one I'll get the Triple T Sarge. And then I'll be happy. I'll be done then. I'll have a mail away Sarge and Triple T Sarge, 2 of the best Sergeant Slaughter figures you could ever own. And I got that. However, in getting that Triple T Sarge, I then got half a mail away and half a Triple T Sarge. I was like, well, now I've got like a half a Sarge each on these ones. I might as well complete those, which started my obsession in army building Sergeant Slaughter action figures. So then after that, I got the Warthog Sarge, and I told myself, well, you don't need the Marauder Sarge. That one's no good. Look at it. It's ridiculous, right? And then I was looking at it. I was like, you know what? It is ridiculous. But I kind of like it now. So I'm going to get one. And then I got one. And then I had the 4 official G.I. Joe Sergeant Slaughter action figures. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. That's it. That's all 4 of them now, right? No, the internet proved me wrong. I had no idea there were so many international variants and exclusives. Right? So looking at this picture, which I sent to Adam only moments ago, this here represents, as far as I'm aware, and not including slight paint variants, because there are camo paint variants for the Triple T Sarge. There are chevron variants for the USA mail away Sarge. There are slight color variants, not including slight color variants. What we're looking at here is every O-ring style G.I. Joe that I'm aware of. If there are any more, please let me know. Feed my illness, my sorter disorder, as I call it. But this is every one that you're going to need in order to have a full collection of O-ring G.I. Joe Sergeant Slaughter action figures, right? So we'll start from the front. You've got the mail away Sarge. You've got the behind him, you've got the Triple T Sarge, and you've got the Warthog Sarge. We know about those guys, right? Then you've got the Marauder Sarge. You might be thinking to yourself, well, hang on a minute, you've got 2 Marauder Sarges there. No, I don't. You've got... You do have... The one very closest to our boys in the front there is the official Marauder Sarge. The one in the back, hovering slightly over the rest of them, is the Indian version of Sergeant Slaughter, which I believe is Sergeant Smasher. And there are also name variants too, by the way. If you want to collect file cards, you're gonna triple the amount of file cards you have to Slaughter figures if you've got name variants. So what's different between the Mail Away and Sergeant Smasher in the back there? Well, it's slight paint differences. You don't have the camo splotch on the top of the hat, and you also don't have the knee pads. So different paint, and also the whistle. There's two variants of this guy too. Let me know if you get bored of my explaining all these variants. By the way, we can move on. But Sergeant Smasher came in
captive audience.
because I know very well that this is only really exciting to me. So Sergeant Smasher in the back there, you can get him in a brown whistle or a black whistle variant, which was another exciting moment for me because these guys are hard to find. I got both the brown and the black whistle. And as a collector, if you try and explain to your friends, like, yeah, this guy's got a black whistle and this one's got a brown whistle. Nobody cares except us collectors, right? Nobody cares. And then I found out you got the Argentina Sargento Slaughter on the other side there. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, isn't that just basically a triple T Sarge? No, it's not. In actual fact, it's actually closer to the USA Sarge than it is to the triple T Sarge because he's got the he's fully decked out in the parts created for the Mail Away. So his pants aren't the same pants as the triple T Sarge. They're actually the skin tight wrestling ones, and the same that they used for the Marauder Sarge. And then you've got behind the USA Sarge, you've got Super Cop, which is basically the only reuse of part is the head, but I still include it because it looks like Sarge to me. So he's in the Slaughter Corps. And then probably my least favorite, although it's not a bad figure, but my least favorite is a 2006 convention exclusive Sergeant Slaughter. And the reason why he's my least favorite, and it's not because he was done poorly, he was actually done very well, considering the parts that they had to use. He looked great, anyone that was involved in creating this. However, he's actually considerably a lot shorter than the rest of them because he reuses gung-hos as opposed to any of the parts that Sergeant Slaughter was using in either of the original ones. So he's actually quite a lot shorter.
And
but he still looks
about that Sarge. I'll just add what my own Sarge knowledge is. That's often called the Ron variant. That Sarge.
Ron, yeah, Ron Slaughter.
That Ron sign. in Ontario.
Listen, I have a close relationship with Ron Slaughter. I know him personally, and he's a little shorter than.
He is a little. I imagine he's a little shorter.
A little short.
So, unbelievable. So.
Yeah.
So Xazyl, that you're doing there, and then Shabby, you seem to collect whatever's in arm's reach.
Yeah, I don't class myself as a vintage or a modern collector. If it's a toy and it's affordable, I'm gonna buy it. I just love toys, always have done. And sometimes I'll go to a flea market or I'll look on eBay, or when we go to a convention and I'll pick up some vintage or other things. I think I just like the collecting. I think the thought of finishing something. It's funny that I've never thought what Xazyl just said. Like, what do you do when you've done it? And I'm like, oh, I wish I hadn't said that. I'm going to be up for hours. It's like, oh no, what did the only thing I actually finished? I want to finish my vintage Star Wars line. I've got about 4 figures to go. That's it. And I was quite lucky back there because most of the vintage figures that I've got were from childhood, the accessories, and we kept our stuff in really good condition, so it's all nice. But the red and black series was 112. And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, it was all about the back of the card, collect them all, and everything was numbered. And it was always the numbers for me. All the Chronicles say I'll have it done like a Chewy decimal system, it's like a numerical system because I like the numbers. That's what it was for these. Because a lot of people said they didn't really like the red and black boxes, but I loved them simply because of the numbers on the side. And there was 112 in that line before they went to the new boxes. And a couple of lads, Hollow Chronicles, Boss Bounty, and Papa Good, they all helped me out finish off that. So that meant a lot to me. So now it's finished, that line. I have them all displayed behind my couch. But you're right. I've never thought about now what, though. and it's weird that But
You
luckily,
just enjoy them.
exactly.
Enjoy them.
Yeah, and then Motu. I mean, I love collecting and picking up vintage Motu, as you know. But the Origins, I love getting. Like yesterday, I got the Mattel Creations Fangor, so that's a line that's going to keep going. But I don't know, really. I've never thought about what happens when it finishes because I collect so much. I suppose it'll never end for me,
Yeah.
And then moving on to Willem, and again, stop me if I'm wrong here. I'm just talking what I observed. Now, if you haven't watched Willem's new show, The 1/8 Team,
Yes, sir.
it's brilliant. He is the toy collecting world's Hannibal. That's what we're going to call him. Hannibal Smith, Willem. On that show, he just talks about anything at 1/18th scale. And so what I love about that is you guys don't talk about like collector's items and adult collectibles. You guys talk about toys. And a lot of your 1/18 stuff is like, here's Spin Master stuff, and here's like Armor Tech stuff. And you go down lines that our toy collecting world doesn't usually get into because it's not like the 6-inch highly articulated or you're looking at what are toys now. And I love that because that's really, to me, where the future of this hobby is. We need to have toys that our kids love, right? And your channel seems to celebrate that quite a bit. And so
you're not wrong, Adam. You're not wrong at all. As a matter of fact, you are 100% correct, sir. And thank you for that, because really that is kind of my collecting story, is that I was really into the G.I. Joe Real American Hero line. It was my favorite. I had everything else, bits and pieces of it. And just to, so when that ended, and then Star Wars Power of the Force 2 kind of brought me back into it. But most of the stuff I was buying, because I'm like, I could use this with my G.I. Joe stuff. That was kind of like, it wasn't like a deal breaker. I obviously played with all different lines, but because I had Secret Wars, I had Superpowers, I had He-Man, and I played with them. But I always said it would be better if I could play with them together. If He-Man could jump in a vamp and run Skeletor over, that'd be great. I know all those lines have their own thing that makes them unique and endears them to us. But so a lot of my collecting in my adult life was kind of, I would ask myself as I sat there and I looked at the shelf, does this Joe? Can I use this with G.I. Joe? So like in 1998 or 99, that Godzilla movie came out, but they released a bunch of like vehicles, like tanks and helicopters and stuff that was 1/18th scale. So I was like way into that. Leonard's The Core continued throughout the 90s, and I would pick those up, and I love them. And they did stuff like construction workers and police cars and like things like that, like real cool stuff that wasn't military based, but it was all compatible. So it just really intrigued me. And I even picked up the Waterworld stuff, hoping it would scale. It kind of does, but I do have like a box with like 3 trimarans in it, brand new, sealed, because I was going to make like a ship for Shipwreck. Even I know it's 20 years later and I still haven't done it, but
I need to say, I love Waterworld the movie, and those toys are so expensive in Canada. Whenever I go to I see those carded figures, I was like, oh, I'd love to have like a Mariner on my wall, like the back wall intros. But they're always like $50-$60, and I was like, it's
ridiculous, because I think I looked at last time I went through like some of my storage boxes, I looked at the price tag. Like I paid like $1.99 for them because they were like so discounted that I was like, I couldn't even leave them behind. So a lot of that is just like, that was kind of my motivating force, was like, can I use this and someday can be compatible with that. Got out of collecting for like most of the 2000s and teens, and got back into it around 2018. And the line that drew me back into toy collecting was Spin Master's Batman line, their 4-inch line. And the thing I loved about it, and the thing that a lot of people don't like about it, is that they're toys. They're kids' toys.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I love about them. They're like, but their feet are too big, the sculpts are weird, and they come with, goofy accessories, and the capes suck. And I was like, I love them. I absolutely love them. You know why I love them? Because 1, they pair very well with G.I. Joe. 2, there is a complete line of heroes, villains, vehicles, and play sets. They're super accessible, and they're very affordable. Like I haven't really had a hard time finding any of these. So if I'm not complete on these because there are some variants like an all gold Joker repaint, but I have no interest in that really. Like I'm like, I'm not gonna chase that. But yeah, and they keep coming out with more. So every time I think I'm done and I'm gonna take a picture of all of them together, I find out about a new line. And I'm like, damn it. You know? Anyway, I noticed there's not many places that have news or talk about, because like, you know, like I don't know, there'll be like big announcements and they'll all be talking about the 6-inch stuff coming out. People will be talking about the Motu stuff coming out and all this other stuff. But there's no real like 1/18 scale place where you could come and like just talk about what's coming out that is 1/18 scale and compatible with, you know, all your favorite lines. So
Well,
that's where I am. I love all
well,
of
have
the
you,
toys.
have you got a segment? Have you got a segment lined up called "Will It GI Gel"?
You know, that's a great, and that is something I want to do is grab like a G.I. Joe vehicle and put all the different. That's what I did when I got the Spider-Man. When I got the Marvel stuff, the first thing I did was throw them in a vamp. You know,
Hey, can we get a closer look at those figures? Well, I've never seen those before.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
so that's the
I'll
new
totally get
Spider-Man.
here.
That's the 4-inch Spider-Man. This is the new Nightwing that just came out. I just got this week. This is an old G.I. Joe figure.
Hey, that looks like
And-
Sarge.
That's Gung Ho, and
Looks like Ron.
Looks like
Yeah,
Ron.
and-
Yeah, Ron Slaughter.
that's Ron Slaughter. That's like, I personally know him, but yeah, those are some pretty cool things. And I don't collect them. I collect them to play with them. They're fun. As a matter of fact, when the grandkids come over, those come off the shelf and they go right on the floor, and the kids
That's
play
what
with
it's all
them.
about.
And I don't care. They can play with them if they bend them, if they break them. I did see my grandson was able to like rip one of their legs off, but I put it right back on, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, no problem. Like he managed to wreck it,
Yeah.
but I thought they were kind of indestructible. I really like
Kids
them.
will prove otherwise, mate.
As far as like completion and like wanting that thing, I definitely get that itch, and I look at the things, and I used to look at the card backs. More so, I would look at the catalogs, you know, like the Sears catalog, and I would circle
Oh,
them, and
yeah.
I'd have a little
Yeah.
list. So when I was a kid, I'd get like that. But there are only 2 lines that I think I have complete, and that is the MASH, the 1982 MASH from TriStar. No one wants them, but I actually think they're interesting because while I was looking, when I got back into collecting, I was like, oh, they made other 1/18 scale O-ring lines? Interesting. Let me go look through them. And then I found MASH, and of course I wasn't going to pay the ridiculous prices for these things because I don't like love them. But opportunistically, a set of the entire MASH line came up, and I bought them. And then at Joe Fest, I ran into that guy at the table, and he had the big play set for like way less than what I see it online for all the time.
I stopped you in the hallway at Joe Fest because I'd never seen this before. I thought you were holding this thing. I'm like, what is that? And, you went, oh,
And
it's
it
the
is
Mac.
so
Wow.
cheaply made. Like the box, the paper is like paper mache, and even like the plastic is so thin. So I got to get it set up, but it's a 4x4 square and all the pieces and everything. So I got to lay it all out. I got to find some time to do that. But and then at Joe Fest, this actually came up at Joe Fest. I thought I had completed a line, but I found something at a comic shop right nearby Joe Fest, and I was really
there.
excited. Yeah, I was really excited because I was like, I think I'm about to complete a collection, and just when I thought I was about to complete it, I was usurped by a devil from down under.
What?
I thought I had the only upside down mustache pirate O-ring figure in existence, and I completed the collection. And then all of a sudden, this beautifully bearded bastard from down under comes sauntering up with his own upside down mustached pirate O-ring figure. And there goes my chances of ever completing that collection.
You know when you were in like grade 8 or grade 9? You know when you were like in grade 8 or grade 9, there'd be two girls that were best friends in this class, and they'd each get half of the pendant of like half of a broken heart.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
That's what you and Xazyl have with those two pirates.
Yes,
Yeah,
mine stays in this position, and Xazyl's just like that. Okay. I love you, man. I love you.
I think you just broke Shabby.
I'm just kidding.
Well, yours has a peg leg. Yours has a peg leg, right?
Yes, mine has a peg leg. So if I ever see you in person again, we have to ding.
We'll
So
touch
for me,
pirate tip.
Around 20. So I've been collecting all my life, and you never said you were going to be a modern or vintage collector. You just always were in the toy aisle. You just like every day you were in the toy aisle.
Yeah.
And all
Even
of a sudden,
when I wasn't collecting, I would still take a look. You know.
And then all of a sudden, you realize that you're a modern collector and you're chasing all these new versions of things. And so I had a real like awakening moment where I was like, I just want the ones I had when I was a kid. So I sold off a lot of my stuff, and I started a new collection of just vintage stuff. And so this is what happens to me is I say I like Thundercats, so I'm going to get the main hero. I just want to get a main hero. If I have that, then I'll be happy. Then we're good. And then you say, you know what? I'll get the main hero and the main villain. If I have that, then it's a set and it's good representation of the line and it's good. And then you're like, well, I'll get a couple of my favorites. Right? Like I'll get a couple. Like they're not expensive. You kind of get them around. So now it's a bit of a bigger collection. Like, well, if I got my favorites, I may as well just get the core characters. So if I have the core characters, like the main characters, then we're good. And then we don't really have anywhere to go. And then you're like, well, if I have the core characters, I kind of need to get the variants that are out there of the core characters.
Naturally.
I hear you.
If there's variants of some, you got to get all the variants you can of all the re-releases and whatnot. So we're at that point in time, like, well, the tertiary goofy characters I don't really love. They're not expensive, so I may as well get those characters as well. And so then you have all the goofy characters. Like, well, I'm this far as well, and it's pretty fun collecting these ones. I may as well get, some of the grails. And all of a sudden, you have this collection that's like 4 or 5 figures away from being complete. And you're like, oh. And what's happened is collecting these has been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun chasing this. And you're like, what? The fun's almost coming to an end. So in my experience, 2 things happens is you slow down because you want to make it last a little longer. But also, you're willing to pay more for those last figures to complete the complete line.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That's kind of. So I have my whole Motu. This is what started the whole thing. The Motu collection is been maybe the most fun to collect since I've restarted collecting. I could go through my entire collection and tell you where each figure came from and like a story attached to it. Right. Like it's been that cool. People that I've met. And stories behind them. And so it grows and it grows and it grows. But the most I paid for any figure in the collection is $45. That's highest ticket.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to say, when you get that collecting itch, is there a limit? Do you set limitations for you, or do you get out of hand? Because yes, with unlimited resources or dollars, we could just, go out there and just buy a whole collection. But part of the satisfaction is getting it for a reasonable price, like finding there's a story to it, right? Sorry, Shabby.
No, I'm sorry. I was going to say, and what I think is it Dan O'Loughlin? I haven't got my glasses on. Is it Dan O'Loughlin? He said something before about Transformers 86 Studio Series. I remember having G1 as a kid, but I was never... but then I saw them and I've only missed 1 or 2 of those 86. Sometimes something just grabs you. And that's when when you look at their Dinobots, for example, you're looking at 45, 55 and that kind of thing. I've always been the same as you guys. I've always liked toys for toys. I remember being at school and it didn't matter if you were the rich kid or the poor kid. When it come to toy day, everyone had the same stuff. Everyone had Star Wars or Transformers, and every mum could afford it. And I've always loved that. My mum brought up 4 boys on her own, and so we always looked after our stuff. But toys back then were so accessible for it to get, and I think that's why I never went down the hot toys route or very expensive stuff, because I like what you said, Will. I like to have toys, but that's what it is. Sometimes things do get sometimes you don't mind paying the 45 and the 55, like those Transformers 86, if it does it look just like it did on the in the movie. So
And again, the figure that I paid that money for was from Wes. He was on Mo Tuesday. He used to own a store, Silver Screen Collectibles, and his store was kind of like, he was like closing down his store, so he had this big sale. I was like, I'll go there. And so more than I would have normally paid, because I like to get them on the cheap and fix them up and whatnot. But I was like, in this instance, I'll get that. It was Dragon Blaster Skeletor, and it worked fine. And I was like, yeah, this is great. So that's a memory I have with Wes. And so, you know, you keep going and you're doing that kind of stuff. But I found I've started stretching out the collection as much as I can. So much like Xazyl, I will buy any janky regular He-Man I can, because these are a ton of fun to restore. And so I have a few figures that I don't army build them. It's not an army. It's just like a generic regular He-Man, a Marshall Bravestar. I'll buy any of those I see kicking around, and Dick Tracy, like the Dick Tracy figure. I love those. So I feel bad for Dick Tracy because no one likes them. I'm like, I'll take you home. So I have like 13, 14 of those just sitting around in boxes because I like picking them up. But so I've got in my collection, I've got He-Mans all screwed throughout, because there's a bunch of variants of Skeletor, and I make a bunch of custom Skeletors. So every Skeletor has to have a He-Man to fight. So we do that. And so that's the other way, is that I found, not Sergeant Slaughters, but adding custom.
Sarge. Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's Sarge. I started adding them to the line as well to kind of flesh it out. So here's like some of them that I've made, just a smattering of it. But it's like anything to keep the dream alive, right? And
well, Adam, I got to say, sorry to interrupt, but I got to say two things. One is the biggest lie we tell ourselves as collectors is we're only going to pick up what we had as kids.
Right.
What a lie! What a lie! I'm guilty of it too. But you'll see new collectors, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm just new to the collection. I'm only gonna pick up the ones I had as a kid."
Yeah.
No. Survey says, "Pow." And secondly, Adam, with the way that shout out to my brother Todd. I saw him in the comment section earlier. He's been watching a lot of your videos recently. Your restoration stuff. And I got to say that the other thing is the way that you are able to create your own variants, your own figures that were never there.
Brilliant.
Especially the universe stuff. I mean, you could arguably say that you will never be done with Motu, because you can just create anything out of nothing. And so the collection can continue to grow. But I do
some
appreciate
of them no figure exclusive. Do you know what I mean? So that's not bad.
So I've got a bunch of them right here that I technically don't even own.
Yes,
but another funny thing about Adam.
Funny thing about me.
Another funny thing about you, Adam, is that you will just casually say, "Oh, it's going through my bits box, and I happen to find an international variant of Skeletor today." It's like just chilling in your parts bin.
Right. This is the latest Motu creation, is Magman.
Oh, he looks cool.
From the last bit. He's translucent red, and that
is awesome.
Fiery power.
I know I've told you this before. I was blown away because Phil Treasures for Triggers got in touch and said, "Oh, Shabby, what's your favorite Motu figure?" And I was literally thinking, we're going to talk about that, or you're going to show a picture or something. But then when you saw those designs, and I'm sat there on Motus, is going right, and then you pulled, what the France, man, I couldn't believe it. I was like blown away. What a talent.
He does good stuff.
Yeah, he really does. And then the back of it, and I love the back of it where it's got all the other figures that you've done for other people. I'm like, that's brilliant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've got our own gang, if you will. You know. Awesome.
That's right. You're immortalized in the club. But I'm one figure away, and I told Scuba Pete to look for one at PowerCon. So we are very close to like being like, for all intents and purposes, like done looking and hunting for Motu. And I think part of what we love doing is the hunt, right? Like we love going out, and I think it's also a thing like you go out with a buddy. So I got a couple buddies here that are like really good friends that we go toy hunting together. Taverko and Dave, and we go and it's a camaraderie thing. You're kind of like looking around, and sometimes I'll just pick up stuff because I'm like, yeah, I already have a handful of stinkores, but if I have another one, I could make them into something. So you just you like picking up stuff. But no, it hit me. I was like, I'm almost done hunting for Motus, right? It's going to be a different thing. And that was my thing with G.I. Joe. So to go back to how my Thundercats example, I avoided G.I. Joe for years because I didn't know who the main character was. It's like who's the Cobra Commander, but who's the main hero? Like I don't know who the guy is. And then a good friend of mine was cleaning his garage. He's like, I got a box of like army toys here. Do you want them? And I was like, yes, sir, I do. And that box of army toys had like a Mobat, 2 Ram cycles, two Vamps, like a bunch of the snow vehicles, and like about 14 figures from 84. And I was like, okay, we've started. Now it was just full speed ahead.
Adam, because you are so close to completing your Motu collection, I want to ask you a question now, and then once you do complete the collection, we'll ask the same question again.
Right.
All right. So at the moment, how do you feel? It's actually pretty much a two-parter, really. How do you feel now? How do you feel now about almost completing your collection, and how do you think you're going to feel once you do?
Well, it's funny because you touched on it a little earlier. Like, I'm very excited. I'm like, it's gonna be so cool to get a multi-bot and like put them up and be like, like we're done. Like, it's this thing where you're like, you want it to happen, and then it's the thing where I know I'm gonna love it. Like, I love Motu, and my setup is very much like a diorama display. Like, it's very pleasing to look at in my mind. I have it set up that I like looking at, and so that brings joy when people come and see that. But it's also a thing that, like, I think the people that will be impressed by it I'm talking to right now. Like,
Right.
yeah, look what I got. I'm like, okay,
Nice.
glad you're happy, right? But again, I don't collect for anybody but myself. I just collect it, right? And
I've never done it through completed stuff. To me, and I made a video about it 2 years ago, was a holy grail. When you get, I always wanted an Imperial shuttle, but when we were kids, we could never afford one. So it was a ship that I loved in Return of the Jedi, and I always wanted this thing, yeah. And we were talking.
He's going to go get his own Imperial shuttle. He's going to go get it.
He's gonna make one real quick. I'll just
Real quick.
One of the lads in our community sent me one, and it was a complete and it blew me away. And I started to tear up on the video. I don't know whether you watch my videos or not, but I like to do unboxings and stuff on camera to show people my actual reaction. So he'd done this, but then about a week, this is something I'd wanted for 20, 30 years. All of a sudden I've got it. So that was the thing. Not necessarily completing a line. It was once you get your holy grail, then what? You know, because every time we go out to a thrift shop or we go to a flea market, or I'd always say, today's the day I find it. Today's the day I get it. And this never came up, and all of a sudden it's here and it's complete. Now what? Now what do we do? You know? So
yeah. So with Thundercats, as a kid, I had like all the main core Thundercats, and I loved it. It was on for Thundercats was on TV longer than we remember it being on TV. It was on for years. Like it was a lot of episodes of Thundercats. Whenever we go to the store, and actually there's a hardware store in Canada called Canadian Tire, and they always had a bunch of Thundercats in their store. And I was like, my dad would be like, "Oh, I gotta go get some spark plugs." I'm like, "Can I come?" And I look at the Thundercats. always looking for a Bengali, and never finding a Bengali. And to the point where I didn't know it was a grail, a kid or a rare. I just knew like I wanted Bengali. He seemed like a brother to Tigra, who was my favorite. So I just wanted to get them. To the point where as an adult, I printed and made my own Bengali.
Yeah, did a great job too.
I want to have my own. So I was like, he's so expensive. I'm like, I can't justify paying that much money for him. So I'll just make my own. And so he was a great placeholder. He actually sits at my desk now because I love him. But it was like 2 weeks later, I was in the toy shop and the guy had one dangerously underpriced. And it was like a week before Joe Fest. And I was like, I think I'm going to buy this Bengali. So I like went into my Joe Fest money I had stashed away for Joe Fest. And I was like, I'm going to spend a little Joe Fest money in Bengali. So it was exciting to get him. And then it was the same thing. I take it home. You're like excited. You put him in the shelf and you're like, okay, he's there. There he is. Yeah, I feel okay.
Good.
So, but yeah, it's that thing of finding those rails. And there's a thing too where there's like holy grails of the line, but there's also personal grails like the shuttlecraft that you were looking for specifically. It's not Yak Face. It's the Imperial shuttle that is your grail, right?
Yeah.
It's tough stuff like I remember Skywalk was always my favourite G1, and Andy All the Chronicles got it me for Christmas. Stuff like that, and it's like you've got it for years, and all of a sudden you have it. And you don't get me wrong, I mean, that sounds like I'm being ungrateful. I mean, it's just that when you have it, it's like all those thoughts and those dreams that you have of actually owning one day, they just disappear, you know. And it's awesome to have them, but it's a loss. It's a loss, I think. It's like, oh, now what?
Yeah.
You know?
Mm.
There's
one thing
also-
I won't do. Sorry, one thing I won't do is add stress to my collection, because this is supposed to be my escape, right? This is where I want to escape to and enjoy the action figures that I have. In fact, I've stopped calling them action figures for the most part and just reverted back to just calling them toys. Right? They used to be when you were younger and you're a little bit embarrassed about collecting toys. Like, they're action figures, they're not toys, but let's be honest, they're toys. And I love them for that reason, is that they're just toys. They shouldn't come also with an added stress element, whether it be financial stress, whether it be the stress of trying to find something that is almost unobtainable. And that I've dropped toy lines like Classified, for instance. I was all in on Classified G.I. Joes when they came out. But then it started to get to the point where I was like, okay, these are exclusive to this store in America. And this will be exclusive to that store in America. So I'm like, well, now it's a headache, right? I couldn't even get Beachhead because it was going to be, I think, a Target exclusive. And Beachhead's one of my favorites. And I was like, well, if I can't get one of my favorites, it's going to be a headache trying to find it. If I'm going to try and be all in, because G.I. Joe's one of those ones where you really do want a lot of the guys, right? It's not just a couple of core guys, because who are the core guys? Other than Snake Eyes and Duke, apparently, because they're all over the place. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna bow out. I'm gonna bow out of this line. It's not for me. I love what they're doing, but I can't get it, so I'm not gonna bother. I did get the Sarge though. I got a bunch of the Sarge, and that's a whole different. It's a whole different disease.
Yeah, it's funny. You have a bunch of the Sarge, and then when you were in Canada, we went to Toys R Us, because you got to go to Toys R Us in Canada. That's like a thing. And you saw Sarge on the shelf. On the
Like, they just have him right here at Toys R Us.
And you're like, do I want to buy one just so I can get one? I was like, don't you have enough of those? You're like, I have enough.
I suppose you can use it as well, because I've been learning. I remember Action Force. I grew up in England, so it was Action Force for me. And I won't lie to the lads. I vividly have no memory of G.I. Joe as a kid at all. So I don't know whether it came out, maybe it was too late or whatever. So ever since I've been in the States, and obviously G-Force and Scuba and yourselves, I've watched your videos and a few. So that's one of the reasons I went to Joe Fest. And when the Classified came out, I was that person to go, brilliant. I can actually get into a line that I know nothing about. But everything you've just said is exactly right. Clear. I mean, a Walmart Target exclusive, Hasbro Pulse Target. This one. And the other thing is, I got a Beachhead, but I had no idea who he was. You know what I mean? So everyone's going, Shabby, how did you get that? Well, I don't know, I just went in it. And that's the thing for me. I'm lucky in the G.I. Joe line I collect is because I can wait for them to go and say, well, I can wait to find one at a Joe Fest or in a shop, because it's not as if I know these. It's not as if I'm going out finding the latest Vader or the latest He-Man. So I'm quite lucky in that sense when it comes to Classified. I can just pick them up when I pick them up. So
I want to touch on one thing here that was said, that Scratch the Cat is one figure I always wanted, but the price is ridiculous. And there are those figures that price themselves out of the reality of collecting. So I say I'm one figure away from finishing my Motu collection, because I never plan on buying a Laser Light or Laser Powers He-Man and Skeletor. They're available in it only, and they are thousands of dollars to buy. And I can't, in good conscience, with a wife and 2 kids at home, be like, I have this $4,000 pair of figures on my shelf. Like, I'm not going to be that guy. And I also think they kind of look cool. But so they price themselves out. So like, I've said it before, I love the Dick Tracy line. I love it all. I have it complete with the 2 cars. I don't have the blank because I'm not paying $1,000 for an ugly Madonna.
Yeah, that's
And so there's these figures that there's grails, but there's ones that just price themselves way out of the fun of it. And then all of a sudden, you pull that trigger, and you're like, oh, what have I done here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of the things like you brought up is like, like structured collecting. Like you have a checklist, you're following it, you're looking for it. I envy you guys because I've never been that organized. I've never have been. I'm kind of all over the place. My channel name should just be like chaotic collecting or something because I really am just chaos. Like I'm a freaking mess. If you open a box, you'll see like G.I. Joe next to He-Man. There'll be like 90s Toy Biz shit in there and just all kinds of stuff. So I'm just all over the place because like I think some. But what I really realized was the thing that I'm chasing, the more so the drug for me, more so than completing that collection or getting it mint or finding all the pieces for it or that completionist mentality is the discovery mentality. Because when I was a kid, I was filled with such wonder and curiosity and just sheer joy from discovering a new toy, putting a G.I. Joe vehicle together, figuring out how you put all the parts together. Like when I found out about Palatoy in the UK version of G.I. Joe, or Palatoy's Action Force, which then turned into, a melding of G.I. Joe, it blew me away. It was because I'm like, oh my God, I'm like having the same feeling I had when I was a kid all over again. There was this parallel line running that is just as good or better in many cases than the toy I loved when I was a kid. So I find myself going to these other lines and picking up all of these weird characters, whether they be from, Lord of the Rings or some guys making bootleg G.I. Joes, and they're just cool colors. Chat May making Soldier Force guys for $1, Pirates dudes, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just picking them all up because every time I pick one of these up and I experience them for the first time, I get a little bit of that sense of wonder, the unknown, discovering the unknown.
Right.
I never knew this was out there. It's kind of what drew me to MASH. Was this existed for 40 years and I had no idea it existed. It's like if you know about the figure, every single figure, every accessory, every variant, everything, what's there to discover, what's new. You know what I mean? That's why I love like the new stuff,
One of my favorite moments in my current collection building up. So my wife grew up with a very different childhood than mine. So she more like Xazyl, like lots of rocks and sticks. And if it was mud, that was a good day. And very, very few toys and very few pop culture influences. So she has like no idea of the stuff that I'm into. She's like, yeah, I'm happy you're happy. It's good stuff. And so when I started collecting Sectars, and that was one that actually happened really quick for me. I started collecting them, and then things kind of fell into line. Within a month, I had them all. And then I found out there was a variant Dargon, and I was like, oh, I gotta find the variant Dargon with the small star. And the next day, I found him in a bin for $6. I'm like, and the game's over. When I went
only Adam could be that lucky.
We were driving to a family event, and so along the way, we were going to stop and I was picking up the one spider puppet for Spidrax, and that was the first puppet I was getting. And so my wife Heather was just like, yeah, okay, she's very agreeable. Heather, you guys all met her. And yeah, great. And so we were there, and so I go out and get it, and I come back, and she goes, "What'd you buy?" And I was like, "Oh, I bought this. It's what the guys write on." And she put it on her hand and experienced the puppet for the first time.
Yes. Okay.
And she was like, "This is the coolest toy I've ever seen. If these kids were small, I would have bought them all. This is they're so playable. It becomes real in your hand, like you're controlling it, and it still kind of freaks you out. And the fact that the guy can write on them, the fact that people haven't done more puppet interaction with action figures, don't understand because it's brilliant.
Yeah,
so well.
Yeah,
my wife is not a toy collector. She was 41 years old and she was captivated by it. She's just like, look at this.
Because it's fun.
Yeah,
it's just fun. Like you're playing with it. You're like, this is fun.
Yeah.
Some things aren't fun. You know what I mean? But I don't have fun just going to 5 different targets and not finding stuff. It's not fun,
Yeah. No, it's all about the finding it. Like, there's too many people that are in this. Not to go negative, but there's too many people in this hobby that don't seem to have fun doing it. And I'm like, if you don't have,
yeah, it's. I mean, you hear some people, and it's like I don't set time for videos. I make them when I'm in the mood to make them because I always want to come across as positive. But,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a man in my 40s that collects toys. You know, not hot toys, not expensive toys. I love it. It's easy. But it always makes me laugh when you'll come on somewhere and someone's just moaning about something for half an hour. And I think,
why are you bothering with it if you don't like it? Just leave it alone.
Understand that, you know, they kind of lead you down that path. They start with a couple of nice things, and see, Classified, they were smart. They messed up first, so then a lot of people just got out before they were too far in, because like the initial launches were the ones where people were very frustrated. They couldn't find them anywhere. Like I said, one of the biggest frustrations I had with that was Walmart exclusive. It's out of stock at Walmart, but there's a third-party seller that sells on Walmart.com, selling it for twice as much, and I'm like, how is this possible? Like, that just bothers me so much. That's annoying. But, you know, I feel like some of these people may be invested in the line, and they feel like they've been, you know, kind of supporting it financially and collecting it, and then they go and do this like crazy turn, and it becomes not fun anymore. So, you know.
Well, that's why you can't really get kids into it either, because apart from Lucy, who loves the at the time, Moto Origins was really easy to get hold of. I mean, we, you know, and then people watching the videos and sending one in, and so she loved that. But it was very, very difficult when The Mandalorian was on, because, you know, you couldn't really take your kids to your local Walmart and get the toys. Do you know what I mean? You had to wait a year after, and then no one's buying a 10-year-old kid $25 to $35 figures to play with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and that was the only issue for me. That's what took the fun out of it myself. I have heard myself moaning about prices or whatever, especially like what you've just said. It's meant to be. Ollie's is the prime example for that. I've just come out of Ollie's, and they had so many archives, so many figures for $9.99. Yet you never saw them in the store for $25. And these things look immaculate. It looks like they come fresh out of the case, fresh on the shelf, and you're like, but I never saw these at $25. And sometimes it gets really annoying. It does. I agree.
So we have a discount store in Canada called Dollarama, and so everything there is $5 or under, and they'll buy all kinds of stuff. So right now you can buy all the CG He-Man figures there, and the last few waves of the Masters of the WWF universe there. All those figures.
Right. Yeah.
I bought a bunch for people that like wanted them, and I was like, they're $5. I'll buy as many as you want. I'll send them out to you. I got some for Xazyl, and I was like, why weren't they like just price things appropriately in the store the first time? People will buy them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we didn't get Disney Plus until the pandemic hit, and then we were home more. We hang out with the kids and said, okay, let's get Disney Plus. So we watched the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian as a family together. We kind of like binged through them, and we loved it. It was great. I felt like Star Wars was back. I think we all kind of felt that way for the most part. Yeah. And then I was like, I'll get a figure each for the kids for their socks at Christmas time. And I went to Walmart. And
you thought so? You thought you were going to do that?
The 3 3/4-inch figures were $28.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's crazy. Like that's prohibitive, right? And I'm like, that's not a toy at that price point.
No. Yeah. We've been in this collecting, the habit of collecting. We've been in it for so long. You know, coming out of childhood, where we stopped playing with our toys and just started owning them, which is a weird concept. Like I started doing the Slaughterhouse Wrestling Championship just so I could play with my toys again, because I just wasn't doing it. They became statues. Like, well, these move. I want to make them move again. So I make them wrestle now. But the most interesting thing that I've seen come out of adult collecting is that no longer is it, when it's off the shelves and harder to find, is it then the increase in price. Now it'll be well before anyone's seen them in stores and well before they're amply available, which sometimes doesn't happen. But the ones that people are anticipating will instantly be up in price, even if you know they're going to come to retail. And you'll see people say, "Oh, I snapped this up early because I really wanted it now," paying 3 times as much as retail price. I don't know why you would bother doing that. What's the point of being the first person to have something when everyone's going to have it for half or a third of the price later on?
Right now, Motu Origins Moss Man will never be worth more money than he is worth right now.
Right.
That's right.
Everybody's clamoring for them. People are buying them, flipping them, and there's been people, and then a couple Motu groups have been kicked out because they're selling them for $75, and they're like, nope, we're not having it. That's ridiculous. So,
Because it is ridiculous. It's creating scarcity just to profit, and it's stupid because, like I said, then it's not about collecting. It's just about bilking,
Yeah.
Well,
or
it's what I think you said, it was either Will or Xazyl before, that if it's not fun, why do it? And when you have that financial stress, it makes it not fun, right? Like Mossman at $25 is fun. Mossman at $75 isn't fun anymore.
Yeah,
I saw a photo.
The power of being covered with moss. That's fun. That is fun.
I really do want it though. But I'm not going to pay $75 for it. But I saw a photo some years ago now, and I'm sure maybe you guys have experienced this online. But it was I can't remember what the toy is now. But someone was in a toy store, took a photo of a toy on the peg, and said, "I've just found this at whatever toy store it was. I will pick it up, and you can have it for whatever." And then created his own price for it right there and then in the toy store before he even bought it. He's like, "If anyone wants this, I can give it to you for this much money." It's like, it's right there. It's on the peg.
Yeah.
The price ticket's right there. Just leave it alone.
Fun. This is fun.
That is fun. That is the perfect
fun.
pairing right there.
I love that.
Look at that. That's a love story waiting to happen.
That is. He found his match. And this wouldn't happen without Spin Master making 4-inch figures.
Nice. Make him kiss.
Oh, yeah.
So is that the killer croc that came with Batman and the 4-wheeler covered in mud?
Yes. Yep. That's the most recent one. It's like a motorcycle that has wings that pop out and turns.
Yeah, there's great vehicles. Yeah.
That Spider-Man figure you had, Will.
Yeah.
The one that you set up before. How many points of articulation does that have?
So these have 11 points of articulation. So they're not super articulated, but what I call it is just enough to have fun. So
Right.
you got knees.
Yep.
You can bend at the waist here. It doesn't have an ab crunch, so you can't get super dynamic poses, but the head turns. You've got shoulder joints, elbow, no wrist articulation, but they stand well. They are capable of most poses. You know what I mean? You can't get them into that, McFarlane Spider-Man cover pose or anything like that with a.
But as a toy, you've got a pretty good.
Yes.
You've got a pretty good Spider-Man there. He's got a web hand, and that's all you need because your imagination can fill in the rest.
Yeah. So they're fun to play with. And he comes with I don't have it here, but he comes with a clip-on web accessory that's shooting out, and I had the Venom figure that goes with that, which I absolutely love. I don't think I have him here right now, but he is so cool. He's slightly bigger than Spider-Man. He's got this huge tongue that comes out. It's all gnarly, but yeah,
Nice.
that. If you hold that up and with his web hand, it shoots right in Venom's face. It's perfect.
I had this Spider-Man growing up. I have 5 points of articulation, and I had nothing but fun with this. You know what I mean?
Oh no!
So
I had the black suit Spidey Secret Wars was my favorite.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh my god! And that Wolverine with the clip-on claws, which I used to steal for every other fun, any character. I was like, what would make this guy cooler? Wolverine claws. Let me go get that.
Yeah.
And I clipped them right onto everyone else. Use a rubber band, whatever I had to.
That was the first thing I ever designed in my 3D printer were claws for Wolverine.
There he is.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Nice.
So.
Oh my god! And when they did that V2 Storm Shadow G.I. Joe figure, and he came with the claws that clipped.
Yeah,
on.
the claw.
Oh my god! I was like, why didn't he come with 2? That was my only complaint.
True. And then they brought out Vega for the G.I. Joe Street Fighter line, and he had 0 claws. He had 0 claws. He never came with the claws. He had to get the claws from a whole different Street Fighter figure.
Right.
Articulation is the same as when we were kids, it was all about. It's like when people turn around to me and they talk about how expensive Star Wars Lego is, and they say, "Oh well, we pay for the license because we never had Star Wars Lego as a kid." But we did because it was our imagination.
Yes,
sure.
Red, blue, and white Millennium Falcon bricked up. And I think it goes with the thing with articulation. Things like 5 points, like those figures, for example, we all had them as kids, and not once did it enter your mind, oh, well, I wish it'd do this, I wish it. it was just what it was, wasn't it? And you loved it for that. So
Yeah.
These were those Marvel retro guys that were 5
Yeah.
POA. My only problem with them was that, like, when they became popular, like, Hasbro jacked up the price like $5, so they went from like $10.99 to like $15.99. And I was like, hey, I don't like that. And then now I got them all like on clearance for $5 each. So I got a ton of these. But they're fun at an affordable price. But I don't.
That
think
Loki looks
collecting
cool, but he
them-
needs bigger horns.
Yeah,
Too small.
Those are all over the
He's big.
Dollaramas now for $5. All kinds of those things.
but
And
had they just kind of kept them at a fair price and made it accessible and fun,
Right.
they would have been toys. Someone would have said, hey, I played with something similar to this when I was a kid, and give it to them.
But I think
create new memories,
that Marvel Legends retro line and the Motu Origins line both did the same thing, whereas it started as being a very possible kid line, like kids could really get into it, and we kind of stole it from them, right? We were like, we're gonna buy those.
Yeah.
I want obscure characters and I want exclusives, and then we just took it
I
away.
think that happened with Final Faction, the Dollar Tree 3 3/4-inch toy line, where more adult collectors were going in there and buying them. And some of the collector groups on there, people were like showing baskets of like 30 or 40 of them. But every time, at least 4 or 5 times in the last couple of years since they've been out, when I've been buying them, I will see a kid buy them. Like the mother and a kid will walk in and they'll say, "What do you want?" and he'll grab one of them. So they're fun.
My son,
Every time I go to Dollar Tree, I have about 5 big cardboard boxes full of Final Faction, right? Because you nip to Dollar Tree and you get, I don't know, things in there. Oh, and I'll just buy 3 of these, and I've done it for the past 2 years, building it. And I don't know, it's not even on display; it's just in boxes underneath my desk.
My son for Christmas last year bought me a box full of them. I opened this box and it was full of Final Faction figures. He's like, "Yeah,
that's awesome."
And I was like, "That's great."
They're great. They made like little bug creatures for the Karn. Oh, I have an entire like Tupperware full of them. Like it's just full of them.
I went in about 2 weeks ago and they had the limited edition translucent ones, so I bought the gold and black, bought all them.
Yeah.
They all it cost me about $8 for all. Oh yeah, I'll have all these. Great stuff.
So are there any lines that you guys have already completed in your collections?
Black
or are
Series.
you dangerous?
That's it.
Black
Series. Like I say, I'm about 4 figures off the actual vintage kind of line, Star Wars. But other than that, I don't want it to win. I don't want it to. I want it to carry on forever. So
now, Shabby, did you buy them as they were released, and there's just a few you missed because they weren't available or whatnot?
At the start, I remember. Also, I'm not a big fan of the sequels, but one thing I will say is the hype around the first one was brilliant. All the toys, all the 5. I've got every 5 POA Force Awakens set, vehicle, figure, and I've never opened them. I love that hype. They had those Star Wars fun days. Do you remember you're going to Target and there's people dressed up and it reminded me of when we were kids, lads. There was rows and rows and rows of figures. And Black Series, I wasn't on for it at all. I've always been a 3 3/4-inch guy, and I thought this isn't right. And I remember buying the black box with the orange thing, Han Solo, and it came with 2 hands, 2 guns, and it's 6 inches. I thought these are pretty cool. So I started to get into the red and black boxes, and you're right, it was quite easy to get hold of until more or less the very end of it. And they were starting, like as we discussed, getting very rare or very expensive. Figures been out for 2 or 3 months, and then they're 3 times the amount on the second market. And I thought that's a bit weird. So a couple of the lads in our community helped me out finish it. But then I went into the new boxes and the exclusives and that kind of thing.
Right, yeah.
Never ends, does it? So
we got a question here from GeForce Racing that what are your feelings on reaction figures for $18.99 US? And I would say that price point is why I never wanted to buy them.
Yeah. So I have some of the reaction G.I. Joe figures right here, which I thought looked cool, and they did some characters, but at $20 each, I wasn't going to get them, but I saw them for $5 on clearance, and I said, had they just been 10 to begin with, I probably would have bought them. So that middle price. So like it's like they go too high, and then they can't sell them. They sit there forever. Whatever the contract expires, they got to clear them out, and then they sell them at a loss, and it just doesn't make any sense because you're like, you could have just been selling boatloads of these at $10 each for months now.
Well, when we went to Toys R Us with Xazyl when he was in Canada, the coolest thing about that line was just seeing the shelf full of them.
Yeah.
It was a wall full of figures. There was all kinds of G.I. Joe ones. But then, so in Canada, they were like $24.99. And I was like, nah. Because you can buy a vintage Joe for that.
Well, check this out. So actually on my show, shamelessly plug my show at 4 p.m. on Saturdays where we talk all 1/18 scale things. I had a wonderful guest, Mr. Beta Ray Bob, came on, and he showed me these. These are 4-inch figures from Japan. They are Kamen Rider or Shoto Double Cross, I think they were. Anyway, these figures are like trading figures in Japan. Like they come in a little box, you assemble them, they come with a little piece of candy. They're super inexpensive. These are super highly articulated figures. Now, if you don't know the characters, but there's all kinds of wicked cool alien-looking freaks and monsters, and I've been getting into the lore of it, but I just thought they looked cool.
Yeah.
I just got a box. It just came in. I haven't even opened them yet because my buddy Beta Ray Bob turned me on to them. Imported from Japan, 10 figures, and my total price was about $8 each. I had to buy the whole case. But if they could do these, and they come with a variety of different hands, different weapons, alternate limbs, and things like that. And he's missing a hand right now because I dropped him. But I mean, these guys, and this show's been going on for 50 years. So this is an established line. This is longer lasting than your Star Wars or anything out there. So they still make they make premium versions of these. You could buy 6-inch, 12-inch, and statues that are hundreds of dollars. But this is fun. Kids collect these, and they're still popular. But I was able to get these imported from Japan. If I didn't have to pay like the shipping or anything, they'd be like $5 each.
So it's funny when you say you don't know the lore of this one. A few years ago, I think my son was 9 or 10. I have a good friend, Steve. They call him Mr. Steve, and he's been a vintage collector for years, since the 70s. And so he brought over a box. He gave my kids a box of Micronauts. You get a bunch of extras and doubles and whatnot. So it's just a box of Micronauts, which are like kind of like just different colors. They're just kind of faceless, different color figures. Yeah. And my kids played for months with those, making it their own story, just being like, and just trying to figure out what was going on. So it doesn't matter if there's lore behind it. It's just toys.
When I first got G.I. Joe, I thought my parents just handed me a bag of them. I think I saw the commercial on TV, and I wanted the vamp, and that was like the first thing I got. And then one day, I forget what it was. I did something, but I got two Cobra officer, like the Cobra Trooper and the Cobra Officer, and Snake Eyes. And I just thought Snake Eyes was bad. So for like a full year, he was a bad guy. He was like Cobra's #1 badass, like beating up all my Joes all the time. Then I see the comic and the cartoon, and I'm like, oh, he's a good guy. So with these guys, it's that same sense of wonder. I'm now discovering who these guys are. I picked this guy at Joe Fest. I picked him up because some guy just had him on a table. And I said, what's this? I don't know what that is. Let me find out. And I just picked him because he looked cool.
He does look cool.
Yeah. I don't know his name, his story, or anything. So, he's been beating people up. But I'll find out he's either maybe he's like the weakest guy or, who knows?
He's probably the diplomat.
Yeah. He just takes notes.
Yeah,
get some coffee.
He's the secretary.
Yeah, he's the common brewer. He does not fight. He just makes delicious.
So Xazyl, how close to you finishing your Sarge collection are you? Because you had a goal of 777. Where
Yeah. So, Gaz is in the. Gaz.
Gaz
Wow.
is here.
How are you, buddy? One of the legends, in my opinion. How close?
And
I haven't
handsome.
done a.
Just
So
a-
handsome,
just
such a
a
good-looking dude. I'm glad
ruggedly
he
handsome man. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad he does camera appearances now. Wilhelm's taking himself off camera because he can't compete with Gaz. Oh dear. But even in the chat. But I'm at. I know. I cracked 400. So I'm over 400 Sergeant Slaughter action figures now. Over 400. If only I, because 777 just sounded cool. It's like 777 Sergeant Slaughter action figures, which I didn't think I was ever going to get to because I was at like maybe 20 when I started that count. And then I got to like, I think 200 was the first time I started counting them like properly. And then I was looking at it going, I was like, how is this 200 toys? This does not look like 200 toys. This is weird. Okay. And then
there's numbers. Like the
those
more
numbers are
you,
crazy.
like it gets bigger. It's weird.
So I'm definitely over 400. I'm going to do another count soon. But I think the thing is that because I was buying up so many Sarge figures, and they were easy to get because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, G.I. Joe, I'm not into Sarge. Sarge ruined the line, whatever." I was like, "Get out of here. I'll take that." And so I was picking them up for like like $10, maybe $15. And that was high. That was a high price. I was like, okay, but I think my best score was like $4 and $8. And so that's pretty good. But now you try and find a Sarge. I think I've priced myself out because because I own over 400 of them, nobody can find them anymore. And they're like, they've gone way up in price. I've single-handedly.
It didn't help that you got that Hasbro mailing list for the mail away Sarge and then went door to door knocking.
Yeah.
30 years ago, you ordered this with the flag points.
Can I have it, please?
Yes.
Can I have it?
I don't know
David Monkey Boys Toys. You know Monkey Boys Toys at all? Well, he's a great YouTuber, and he did the same thing, but not obviously with Sergeant Slaughter. We were talking to him about what he collects, and he goes, "Well, I have a collection of Bib 4 tuners." And I went, "What the heck?" Anybody goes,
yeah.
He's around, and there were hundreds of Bib 4 tuners, and we were like, all different. Some with the coats, some with the scouts, some without, and all that. Just hundreds of them. We were like, that's amazing,
I love it. I love it. There's always when you see someone's collection like that, especially on Facebook, people will comment and go, "Why? Why do you need this many? What is this for?" It's like if you don't get it, you're never going to get it. Right?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. I think the original idea for me to get so many was because I saw many years ago now. I saw someone's collection of Serpentor figures, and they were like just a huge display of Serpentor, and I was like, I've got to have just as many to go up against Serpentor. I've got to have just as many as that. But then, it's become increasingly harder. The latest one that I got was actually gifted to me from Brendan Haley. And if you haven't seen Chasing 80's recent interview with Brendan Haley, that guy, he's only just recently gotten into collecting toys as an adult and has already amassed such an epic collection. And he's picking up things. Oh, so many cool stuff. I've had a beer with that guy, such a legend. But yeah, he's started just collecting things that he wasn't aware of really. He wasn't aware of G.I. Joe really, and he's just going back and finding this stuff now. He's like, oh, that's cool. So picking up what is cool as opposed to picking up what is popular.
Yeah, well, it's funny when you say you created a little market for yourself. After my first video where I made the Brave Star hat, vest, and gun, I was like, well, I can restore any Brave Star now. Let's make it in a bin. So I was at a toy show, and there was 2 toy shows in a row where I was like picking them up for like $5, just kind of like. And then the second toy show, guys started kind of coming up to me and were like, "I've got a Brave Star here for you. Let's say 20." And I'm like, well, no, at that price, but with those, I've sent one to Xazyl, I've sent one to Gaz. I just like fixing them and restoring them. And it's like, who needs one? Send it out. Now, Shabby, you've got a Brave Star at Joe Fest, correct?
Yeah, I got brainstorm text out. They cost me a lot more than 20 quid. I know that.
Yeah.
But one of them's missing the dagger. The dagger's missing on.
So I can print you a replacement dagger because I designed a dagger for my Texas.
Awesome.
But your Brave Star vest looked like it had all the silver was rubbed off of it.
There's no silver there, I don't think.
Okay, so grab it. We'll
Shabby didn't even know it came with silver on it.
Fantastic. What a beauty.
I was like, hang on a minute, did he come with a vest?
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah.
But yeah,
So
no
that's great.
silver. Yeah.
There's no silver. So what I'm going to do is I have an extra vest with all the silver still on it. So I'll send that to you, and then you send me that rubbed off one, and I'll fix that one up.
Cool, that's awesome.
Done.
A good deal.
That's all. Thank you, my friend.
Shabby, it actually turns out that's the rare non-silver one.
There's a rare variant of Brave Star that has no paint on his boots. They're just brown, and there's no paint on the boots.
Oh, okay.
And it came out. It was like the first run of them, and so I found one of those at a show. And my buddy is really into variants. Like you see variants, and his dog, his ears pick up the dog. He's like, "What'd you say, variant? What's going on?" And I said, "Hey, man, take this. Just give me one of your janky ones." So I just traded straight up because I'm like, variants to me, I don't go out searching for them, but sometimes if you find them in a box and stuff, they're fun to have.
Yeah, you just find them willy-nilly. It's like,
That was such a fun line, and I didn't get it until it was like deeply clearanced. Like, because I remember my mom coming home with like all of them, the 3 pieces to the Fort Carrium play set, almost all of them, but they had like markdown stickers on them, so they must have just been blowing them out at Bradley's or Caldwell or something.
Yeah.
And she just got them all for me because I was like, "What did I do for these?" And she's like, "Nothing. I just think you're great. You know, here, take
they
these."
were cheap. They were
super dirt cheap. But
Your mom's right. You are great, and you deserve all the best.
The only time something like that's ever happened to me is when we first emigrated to North Carolina. We're having a look around the place and so on. There was a church fair. It was like a church. Do you call them jumbles? Not a jumble sale.
We call them
flea
yard sales.
market. Yeah, yard sale.
At churches, they're called bazaars.
Bazaars.
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah, bazaars.
I said to my wife, "Well, let's just go. We can get to meet some people in town. It's only a small town where we first were. We've moved since then, but let's go in. We'll meet some people." And the neighbours were saying, "Oh, you know, you're going to have to come to this church fair and get to know it." And they have hot dogs there and stuff. Anyway, so we get there and it's clothes and it's baby stuff. Anyway, this lady comes with this big bag and she puts down a Star Wars figure. So I straight away, your radar just goes like that. So I went over. And she had this bag and she's putting them all out. And I said, "How much are these?" And she went, "We're just asking $2 each," like that. Oh, okay, fair enough. I pull out a Stormtrooper Luke. I pull out Hanning Carbonite. I pull out 11 of the last 17 for $2 each. I was like,
no.
11 of them. I couldn't believe it. Lumac, Warwick. I was like, this is unbelievable. And but I was panicking, so my wife kept nipping me because she didn't want the woman to go, "Hang on a minute, what am I selling it here?" Somebody else, I'd say fair enough. I'd say, "No, these worth a lot more." But he said, "Donated," so it's not as if they were these women's. You know what I mean?
Right.
So honestly, the amount of Star Wars figures I bought there's a few, you know, Power of the Force in there. But when I saw 11 of the last 17 for $2 each,
oh, but that's what you live for, man. That's like the thrill of the hunt, you know. Like that's success right there. That's perfect.
Yeah.
There's often this misconception that you have to tell the seller what it's worth, what they're selling, and I don't think that's true. I mean, you don't want to rip anybody off. Like if someone says, "What's this worth?" and you say it's only worth a couple of bucks, that's a whole different scenario. But if you see something for sale, that's a transaction, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's your buddy, that's different. But if it's
still
just
harm to
online
her,
seller,
if she's just saying, "Just give me $2 for these," and it means nothing to her.
Yeah, that's
she's
right.
Happy. She's happy on her end of the transaction to get just the $2 each, and you're thrilled to get them for how much you paid for them.
Oh, I remember the sign said "Space Figures," didn't even say Star Wars.
Yeah.
Space guys.
Oh, but I'm asking, you know,
I think it's different as well if you're buying them for your collection or if you're buying them to flip. I think there's
Right. Yeah. That's a whole different thing too. That's a whole
Like
different
if you want to
thing.
get them, yeah, but yeah, you go to a flea market and you go, how much is this? Whatever,
Yeah.
this toy that I'm probably gonna just give to my dog. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
so
you know.
a flea market find, secondhand stores, online marketplace, people like that are just selling something as a transaction. You are not obligated. Hey, kicks the door in. No, he's tired, so he's just going to knock very quietly and let himself
saunters
in.
in quietly.
Hey, Hans. Those just purely transactional experiences. You are not obligated to tell them what they have. If it's your buddy and he's like, "Hey, I don't know what this is. Do you reckon, what could I sell it for?"
Sure.
You shouldn't say, "Oh, I'll give you $3 for it." You tell
Yeah.
your buddy how much it's worth, and
Well,
then you help your buddy out.
You might not know this. Maybe I've mentioned it, but I work. I operate several thrift stores. That's what I do for a living. So, I get that all the time. But some people have flexed on me, but I know perfectly well I'm giving them a good deal. One of my favorite
Right.
things to do is put something out there and let someone get a great deal, and it makes their day. But I remember one time there was a baseball mitt, and we don't really carry much sporting goods. But it was just in a box of miscellaneous stuff, and his kid wanted it, and I just said, "I'll just give us $2 for it." So the guy gets halfway out the door, comes back, and he goes, "Hey, I just want to let you know, this thing's worth like $50." And I was like, "Oh, great, good for you."
And
So it goes both ways, Like after he bought it, he came back, he was like, "Yeah, it's worth more." And I was like, "Okay,"
Yeah.
So it happens.
There was a on Marketplace, and she said they go box of He-Man figures. And there was a box of them. She said, "Give me $50 for the box." And so I saw some cool stuff in there. And she said, so I messaged her, "Hey, like I'd like to get those." And she goes, "Yeah, like my husband passed. I'm just getting rid of his stuff." And so that pulled on my heartstrings a little bit. But there was a Scare Glow in that box, and I had already I got a good deal on a Scare Glow already. So I said, "I'll buy the box off you, but there's a glow in the dark figure in there. Take that out, put it on Marketplace for $300, get some money for it, and I'll get the rest of the stuff." And she was happy, and I was happy.
cool.
In that situation,
And once again,
right?
in any transaction, if both parties are happy, then who's to say that?
That's right.
And when I got home and looked in that box, I found a half boot, purple trunk, pig cheek Skeletor. And I was like, "Okay, here we go. There's more going on."
That's what gives us our thing, though, isn't it? I mean, there's all different types of collecting and why we collect, and the memories of it. But one of my biggest thrills is bargain. I just love a bargain. I love going out in the wild and finding something and think, "Oh,
Yeah.
Joe, look at this." And I suppose if you take that away from collectors, it's hard, that, isn't it? It is getting rarer. Let's be honest. I mean, even people that aren't toy collectors now, they know what things are worth, and they see how many of us.
With the internet, it makes it very hard, and a lot of times we do know what it's worth. I play dumb all the time, and people.
I don't
know what
play.
it's worth, but I see them like the husband whisper to his wife, like,
Yeah.
And I'm like, they know they're getting a deal, but we kind of manufacture that because that is the experience. Every time someone goes thrifting, they want to find a treasure, and they want to have a great story to tell their friends about. They don't want to go and say, "I paid 90% of retail on this."
Yeah, my story wouldn't be any good, would it? If I went to a church fair and I spent $4,000, be going, "Hang on a minute, what's it?"
That's not a fun day.
But the thing is, if you go to a thrift store and things are priced appropriately, you as a thrift store manager aren't going to make any money. Because if I'm a collector, I'm like, well, I can pay that on eBay. Right? Like there's no advantage to buying it from
That's what I was going to say. Will, do you find people will go in and have their phone out and look at eBay and just looking at random
The thing
things?
you said about selling something, we've got a lot of like antique dealers that'll come in and absolutely sell something right from my sales floor.
Wow.
It's okay. I don't mind. So where I tell people to price stuff is pretty much where you don't want to price it so it's so cheap that people are just, even if they're not flippers, they're just tempted to become one because you're just offering stuff at such dirt cheap prices they could just double the price. And you don't want it so expensive that you want it somewhere in the middle where it's like maybe just slightly too expensive for a flipper to just buy it and just turn the garage into a store. But we have to just move product based on how much we have coming in. It really doesn't matter so much what it is, because I've had people say like, this framed artwork is worth blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, but I've got a truckload of it in the back, so we got to move this stuff. So it's not,
Yeah.
It's not as important to me. There's very specific. There's a lamp collector community, table lamps. Like the guy came in and showed me, like your display and your display, Shabby, shelves all in his room with just lamps on it. Most of them were made of brass or like some type of older antique metal. And I was blown away that community existed. He had a entire wall of lamps, and he came in and he showed me what he was interested in, and he's a good guy. No, he's a great guy, and I really enjoy every time he comes in and talks to me at length about them. But it was just funny to see the joy in his face when he found that lamp in our store. But yeah, there's hyper specific collectors for everything, and we're just moving stuff at such a rate that we don't have the time to get that specific or that
So my
down on it.
sister-in-law, she runs the Missions thrift store in Brantford, so she manages the store.
Oh yeah.
And so 2 Christmases ago, she got a donation, and she called me and she's like, "Hey, I need your help. I got 6 bins and boxes full of carded action figures." And so right away, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll come help you. No problem. Let's figure this out." And so I went there, but what it was another used like vintage toy store had gone out of business, and so they just donated what was ever left over. So it was like carded figures from like the late mid '90s and on, but it was all the stuff nobody wanted. Right? It was all like the end runs, weird X-Men stuff, and like we kind of like, and so she was like, "Is this got any worth?" And I said, "Well, yes, it does. But if you look up, like you got to look character specific up, and I don't think this is the gold mine that you think it is. However,
Sure.
let's just bring all the bins to my house, and I'll go into my action figure Facebook group, and I'll just do an auction. I'll auction it all off, and I'll say I'm going to start everything at $2. And I said we'll get every collector will come in for that. They will set the price because they'll pay whatever they think it's worth. And when they start at $2, everything will go. And so we cleared it out, and we made like $500 that night. And I said,
Wow.
it's all done in 3 hours, right? It's done. You don't need to put it in your store. You don't do pricing, and so And so there's questions about like, well, could we have made more if you had it in the store? I'm like, maybe you could have made more over a 6-month period, but I don't know if that. Just get it on because this isn't. It's people that are coming through thrift store want a deal, and this stuff, it's carded, kind of sort of vintagey, but it's not the stuff they're looking for, right?
Yeah.
So
sometimes it's the flip side of that though as well, isn't it? It's like the biggest culprit for that is Star Wars, because it says Star Wars on it. People think it's worth. I remember going to a Rally flea G4 now. There's a big flea market in the capital Raleigh here, and it's huge. And they were selling a Power of the Force Falcon, no parts to it, and he wanted nearly $100 for it. And we were trying to explain to him, listen, it's oh no, you need to get it. It's Star Wars vintage, and yeah, but it's not. It's not $100.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. I've lived here in my current city for 9 years now. There's a flea market, and this guy has one of like the permanent booths. It's like a kind of like a storage unit with a roll-up door. And his walls are plastered with Hot Wheels cars, NASCAR stuff, Star Wars stuff, and it is like sun faded. It's just like got like this grime on it from like the wind blowing dust in on it all the time. And he has got higher than retail prices on all of it. And every time I go, I got to film the booth one of these times. But he is like right up on you. He's like, "What are you doing?" Like as soon as you walk in. And I'm like, "I'm just browsing." Jeez, But he will not budge. And that stuff, he doesn't need the money, obviously. He must just like people coming in and going, "How much?" It says Star Wars on it.
There's a vintage toy store by my house. I didn't take Xazyl to it when he was here. We're going to say that for the next time he's in Canada.
Not too long from now, sure.
Not too long from now. We went the other direction. But he's got all kinds of, his store is packed. And so I don't do a whole lot of toy hunt videos, but I want to go there and do one because his prices are outrageous. Like, like he has a Motu cabinet. And so for an example, they had a Mechanic no armor, no weapon, $129.
It says it's from 1983 or 4 or whatever. Yeah, it's old.
When my friend took me to the first time, I started looking at prices, and they were all like proportionate like that. Like Power of the Force 2 figures on card, $89. I'm like, what? Why did you bring me here? And he goes, just offer him something. Just offer him. So that's where I found my first half boot Skeletor with the black trunks, and it said like $79 on it. But he had no armor or anything. And I was like, I'll give you 15. He was like, deal, no problem. So you can lowball the guy, and he'll take it. But the prices are so intimidating. I almost walked out of the store.
Oh my God, that kills me because my philosophy with my stores has always been just price it fair and get it out here. Just move it.
Yeah.
There's a store down the road that everyone compares us to, and they always run sales. They always have like a special event or a day going on. So I guess like psychologically they're better because people think they're saving money, but I'm like, they price everything. So I was like, I could price everything 50% higher and then put a banner out the window saying 50% off every day, but
Right.
I just pre-haggled everything for you. Like I just, it's like out the door price, because, I've been doing it for years and I know, so especially when people come in and they want to negotiate and stuff like that. If they make me a reasonable offer, I'll usually accept it. If it's reasonable, and I consider reasonable not a quarter of what it's supposed to be, or even half price. But it's just funny that like people do that though. They'll just price everything. But there is a comic shop here. I have never gone there. We were going to go there. There's 2 comic shops in town. One that I prefer going to, and the other one that I never went to, but it has a bad reputation. But apparently the guys had the place for like decades. And if you read his Google reviews, because my son pulled them up when we were driving over there one day, and he's like, oh my God. So this guy's whole deal is everything was priced like 20 years ago when he was a young man. And when you bring it up to the counter, he looks on eBay for what it sells for and charges you that. And it pisses people off. There were so many bad reviews on this thing. He says, I was digging through long boxes for 4 hours and I found a stack of awesome comics, and they were priced whatever, I guess, the Overstreet guide back in the 90s priced it at. And yeah, he said, I brought it up, and then the guy's like, okay, this is going to take a while.
Oh wow!
And a whole stack of them, and whatever the price was, and his whole argument, because he replies in the reviews, and he's like, sometimes it's cheaper, and then one guy just went, it's never cheaper, and if you have a price on a product in your store, you're supposed to sell it for that price. So then he has like handwritten signs up all over, like really unprofessional, like, I price whatever I want, But it is a funny place, and I really want to go there just for the experience. I want to get swindled by the guy just to have the experience.
You should sell t-shirts. I was swindled by.
Just get him to handwrite it himself.
And I want to pick something good, And
then he'll probably charge you for writing it. Do you know what I mean? And then you'll be $20 for writing it.
But that is probably the worst. And I'm like, why wouldn't he just take his time and look them up and price them a reasonable price? Whatever he feels like.
You need to create a fake eBay store with fake comics on there for cheap. And then when
go in there. Dude, Xazyl, I love that idea. Go in there, you've got an earpiece, and you're like, okay, Web of Spider-Man number 47, Amazing Spider-Man, and then you're creating fake eBay listing. You got your cohort in the van.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, guys, we're ready. Go.
Okay,
hit it. And
we started this stream talking about the bittersweetness of completing collections. It's turned into a Netflix pitch where we want to show. It's like Cheaters, but for comic book stores that are unscrupulous.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh. There's a toy store just about a half hour from me that does the opposite. So they eBay price things when they come in. So when they buy stuff off, they have sold stuff there. They're pretty reasonable, and they'll price it. but they'll price it on that day, whatever's valued at that day. And if they get stuff that comes in that's like a week later or a month later, that's the same thing, they'll price it on that day. So you get items in the store with different price tags on it that are in identical condition. And so when I was buying the Dick Tracy stuff, I was looking for a car, and they had boxed police cars, 3 of them. One was $59, one was $89, and one was $109. And I was like, what's the difference? And, they were priced different times.
Yeah.
There's no pair in the world. I'm like, so should I buy the cheap one? Yeah, I'd buy the cheap one if I were you.
That is one of the best things about being in a community, in it, because even if you find something that you're not sure of, you're going to know somebody that does. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, so that's one of the luckiest. I remember when Scuba came here, I was looking at a Castle Grayskull, and I was $185, and Scuba's going, no, like that. And he basically lifted me and put me out. What? And he goes, Shabby, there was this missing, that missing. It's not worth that much. And so that was a good thing, because I'm impulsive, man. I did the same thing at Joe Fest. I'm picking up everything, and G-Force, like I said, calm down, Shabs. Wait till we, you know what I mean? Wait till we've been here 2 days. You know what I mean? But,
So I should set up a booth at Joe Fest next time just to sell Shabby stuff.
Yeah. Sell Shabby stuff.
We got upstairs. I was a bit tipsy. We were in that bar, and we'd all gone out for a bit to drink, and then one of the lads was telling me about the swap and meet upstairs, and I thought this sounds awesome, you know, when everyone's in the corridors and selling stuff like that. Well, I was over. I'd never seen anything like this, and that to me was the highlight of Joe Fest. And this guy, Chief, also is in the chat. He was with me, and this guy, as I was walking, he just pointed and went, You can have this for $25. And I just went, okay. I didn't even know what he was. I was so overwhelmed. And he went, you can have this for $20. I went, okay, fair enough. And I gave it out. And G-Force went, Shabby, you don't even know what you've bought, have you? I said, no, it was a Duke and a fanged bike or something. It looked all right.
So that'll be the hook of our show.
That's great.
So Willem and Xazyl will be in the truck with the earpieces on eBay. And Shabby and I will go into the store. We'll buy the stuff and we'll give you, and then and I'll be the guy who's like, actually, you've been exposed. Here's what's going on. And then at the end, Shabby's like, but can I still buy this stuff? And we'll see what Shabby actually buys.
Still wants it.
I would buy a solar-powered flashlight. Do you know what I mean? I'm that sort of person.
Sure. Hey, I was leaving that swap, and some guy was sitting on the floor, and he's like, you got $20? I got this box of stuff. And I was like, I don't. And he's like, you got PayPal? And I was like, absolutely. And I didn't even know what it was. I saw a Night Raven, like, nose cone sticking out of the top of the box. Apparently, the box had no bottom, so I had to, like, carry it. And I was pretty drunk, but yeah, I got like 2 G.I. Joe 92 bases out of it. A tray full of a bunch of figures. I got this cool Mortal Kombat figure in there. There's a lot of stuff. Very cool though. Look at that.
That's Reptile.
Yeah, Reptile. Yeah, he was in the tray in the bottom, and I was like, oh, this is great.
Nice.
But yeah, I had no intention of buying it, but he was just sitting there, and he's like, you got $20? I was like,
$20 for a Reptile is pretty good.
Plus,
trying to get those Mortal Kombat Joes are tough.
And I got the shell of the Night Raven, 2 bases, and a bunch of other stuff.
So one of the last experiences I had for being in at Joe Fest in Augusta, Georgia, was I've been umming and ahhing over getting the $1 Million Man figure, the Ted DiBiase $1 Million Man from the Superstars line. And I was like, oh, when am I ever going to see this again? And it's like, it was way overpriced. I was like, yeah, but if I say, take away the postage costs, that I would have to buy. Like, I'm starting to trying to rationalize it in my head. I'm like, and I almost did it. I almost did it a couple of times. And then I was like,
Scuba Pete. I was like, buy it, Xazyl.
Yeah, get it, do it, get it. You want it. Anyway, I was like, no, it's fine. Like, it's too much. And then on the last day that we're there, we go to Walmart, and there on the shelves are like heaps and heaps of these superstars, including the $1 Million Man. And I'm glad I didn't pick him up, because if I had, I would have looked at it and gone, fudge. We don't say the F word on Adam's channel, but fudge, right? And I was just so super stoked. If you see a photo of me on Facebook holding up these figures, I've got a genuine smile ear to ear. My eyes are lit up. I'm just so excited. In fact, it looked something like I was wearing the hat. I was like, super excited.
I want to say that Walmart story is very different from my experience shopping with Xazyl in Canada. So Xazyl comes to Canada, but his luggage does not. So he's got the shirt on his back and his expander hat, and that's it. So the next morning, I was like, I'm going to take Xazyl to Walmart, and we're going to get him some clothes. And it was like I was shopping with my grandmother. He has nothing to wear. He's got nothing to wear. And he's going, no, I don't. Not much of a t-shirt guy. I'm more of a polo shirt guy. So like the very small polo shirt section goes, no, those aren't really my style.
I would have rather worn nothing.
We didn't buy anything.
No. I remember coming back from Joe Fest, and I'm looking at YouTube at other people's experiences, and Xazyl's video came up, and it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours with Space Commander talking about your experience coming to.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll watch this, you know. And I wait for the kids to go to bed, and my wife, and I thought, I'll settle in. I made a cup of tea, and I put it on, and he started off brilliantly. But then when he got to his bowel problems, I just couldn't. The funny thing is, I felt for you, don't get me wrong, but that story went on for about an hour. And I have bowel problems. And I have bowel problems. And I go to Don't Rest. And I have bowel problems.
That's what happened, though. You only got an hour of it. I got a week of it, mate. You got 1 hour.
You know, in the chat, watch the video, but this is the part. Remember when you said you had to go and get something from a CVS or a Walgreens or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And apparently you got lost, whatever. I think we're all in that truck with you. Like, please get there. Please get there. Oh, brilliant.
Well, Will was the one that was driving, and Adam was the one navigating, although Adam will say it was Google the whole time.
It was Google. Well, he didn't do anything other than say, take me to CVS. And then it went, turn left. And I was just following it. The next thing you know, we're in the PGA golf course. And I'm like,
we got a great tour of the place. But
Will was driving and I was navigating, and we were just trying to help, and we were getting a lot of heat from you and Chad. They're like, come on, guys.
Mate, I was getting a lot of heat from my rear end. It was on. It was on. Shabby, we've started the conversation again. But the final thing I'll say is that it couldn't have happened. It couldn't have happened at the worst moment, where we're almost at the hotel. And when you know that you're almost somewhere, you sort of your body relaxes into the idea of it. And then the bloody train. The train stops us. And you think 6 carriages? No, 16 or 60. I lost count. But it was like this could only have happened to me.
The only thing that would have made it better is if, like, someone standing outside the CVS, you know, I don't know, just said, I haven't seen a train in these parts in 6 years or something like that, you know, and then also,
I was almost expecting to slow down in front of us and then go backwards.
Backwards again. That was the worst part. The worst part of that, though, at the very end, was poor Joe Recondo sitting at the pool at the hotel with his esky and beers all lined up, and he looks over at me all excitedly, going, "Oh, Xazyl, come and join me for a beer." And I'm like, oh, "Can't stop, buddy. I'm gonna get upstairs."
Walking like you were chewing a toffee.
Just waddling.
I look like a marionette puppet trying to get up.
Poor Joe.
Imagine if you go next year, everyone's going to have first aid kits for you.
Pepto? Oh, man.
Unbelievable. Well, guys, we are approaching the 2-hour mark here, and I don't want to keep you guys all evening, but I want to say thanks for coming and hanging out. We were talking a little bit about collecting. We had a lot of laughs, and like I say, I'm gonna do more of this because I just like hanging out with my buddies, and you guys, maybe unfortunately, are my buddies now. So just understand
Guys,
that.
so great to
Very
see your
fortunate.
faces and to talk to you guys. It's been a bit, and I'm just really happy to have been able to spend this time with you guys.
Yeah, no, summertime always throws schedule all crazy. I think we've got another games night coming up in a week or two or a couple weeks or something. We've got some kind of games night on the horizon coming up, so make sure you're there for that. And Mo Tuesday will come back in a couple weeks, and we got big things planned for September. We got a lot of Mo Tuesday September stuff coming up, and I got a couple of videos that are in the works right now. So we'll see some more fun stuff. I just boxed up a Batmobile. I'm going to send to Phil. And some other.
Don't send it to me. You'll never get it.
I'm not going to send it to Xazyl. He'll never get that one at all.
You'll never get it.
But Shabby, I'll message you. I'll get your address and I'll send you that the silver Brave Star.
You know, I've got to thank you as well. You said something that meant a lot to me a couple of weeks back. When you were on RZSR, I told you that Andy at Hollow Chronicles got me a vintage Snake Mountain, and I absolutely love this thing. Yeah, and it's. The only thing it was missing was a cufflink, the two cufflinks and the panel of it. So I'm checking eBay, and you wrote to me and you said, Shabby, don't buy them. I'll make them for you. That would mean more to me than buying it, because I'm a firm believer, of everything that you have in there. I don't know whether you do it yourself. It's all memories. It's like songs or a smell. It's something you remember. And I love looking around my toy room and seeing things like, oh, that's where. And also not only where you met, but the person, where you were, that kind of thing. So if you ever did that for me, that would mean more to me than going on eBay and buying it. It really
no problem. I'll send those along with it. And on that note, when I walk in my toy room, my toy hallway, this is all optical illusion. I'm in my church office right now, and it's just a hallway, a hallway against cupboards. My toys are on this side of the hallway. When I look there, I love the collection. I love having it there. But the Sky Striker from Joe Fest, where you guys all signed it, you're all part of the memories, and Xazyl did the video with me. Like, that to me means more than the rest, because it's tied to so much. You know what I mean? And if you think about it, it's a toy that a bunch of guys drew on.
It's true. It's true.
Right. So
what a great day that was, though. What a great day. I've been in that room, Adam. I've been in that room.
You've been right here. You were right here. And I would come in and Xazyl, like, hey, we're going over here. Do you want to come? He's like, nah, I'm good. I'll just look. I'm just looking.
Yeah. I'm just going to look here. I'll just stay right in this corner.
I would do inventory. I'd come in and I'd count them all. And then
Xazyl's been here. What's missing?
Yeah, what's going on?
How many Sergeant Sorters did I start with? How many have I got now?
Right. But all that to say, guys, this has been an absolute blast. You guys are all cream of the crop, and we will get together and do more stuff very soon. All right. So thank you guys for being on and for bringing the chat.
Thank you.
Hey, it's my genuine pleasure, and we'll talk to you guys all on the next, whatever this happens.
Bye.